I was leaving Kody, and there was no way I wanted to be tied to him in any way, shape, or form, and I did not like to deal with him at all on anything, and especially on finance. No, thank you. We're splitting it. I'm going to keep the money from the house. I'm going to give you all my rights to Coyote Pass. No, I was done. I didn't want to deal with him anymore.
Hey friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. I was watching the episode of Sister Wives and I had a thought because all this talk about Coyote Pass and attorneys and going to lawyers and lawsuits and settlements and dividing assets had me thinking about Christine and her husband, David. And Christine getting brought into the conversations with Janelle about what she was going to do about the property with Coyote Pass and her assets and her settlement. And in the conversation, there was no discussion about Truly or their relationship or if Kody was seeing Truly. And it hasn't been brought up at all this season. It's almost a little bit strange. And I don't know if this was intentional or not, but prior seasons, up until this point, Kody was at least attempting to make it seem like he had a relationship with his daughter, Truly. They were arranging meetups for the camera, at least. And they did the whole birthday party thing for her in the previous season. And they had discussions about bedrooms and all of that and where she would stay. And she met up with Kody at that Mexican restaurant and they talked about dropping Truly off the next time she was in Flagstaff. And this season, there's been no interaction with Kody and Christine other than they saw each other at the party for McKelty's baby shower and then for Gwendolyn's engagement party. And at the engagement party, Truly was there and at the baby shower. And again, there appeared to be no interaction between Kody and Truly. And I thought it odd because, geez, that's your daughter, right? She's your minor child and on a show that's about family and supposed to be about, you loving your children, that would have been a great time for Kody to play the narcissistic father, all for the cameras like Jim Bob Duggar. And then I just thought, gosh, there's nothing there. Okay. So Christine made a comment this recent episode and it made me think and realize that her decision to go for child support and parenting time and custody in the fall of 2024 could have very well been precipitated by seeing what Kody was doing with the other women. I don't believe that what she's doing can help them in any way because the documents and the court records that she receives in the custody case in Utah she can't give discovery that he gives to Utah for them to use in Arizona. You can't. Typically, financial records are sealed and you can't just hand those out because they're not public. I mean, they're public in that they are used in the case, but they're usually not disclosed to the public. And because most divorce and custody cases are private in Utah, they don't become public record. So it's not like she can help them. But I wondered if watching them go through this process is what motivated her because she made a comment about how when she left Kody, she didn't want to deal with him at all anymore. And so she made the decision that she would just divide the assets with him and they would just go their separate ways because she didn't want to deal with them anymore. And she didn't have an interest in having to deal with anything financial with him. So something obviously changed between then and now because now she's suing him. And as back in 2023, when this is recorded, she's not even, it appears to be either not on her radar or she's not releasing that publicly that she's considering this. And there was a breakdown that occurred in the fall of 2024. And that was that McKelty and Tony moved from Utah to North Carolina. And they had been the mediators and the go-between for drop-offs and custody exchanges. So I don't know if that was what was the final straw where she had to claim it. But I just found it interesting that she made that statement because it appears that this decision for her would not have been made easily. And it would have been challenging for her to come to that decision. And it could have been David that was trying to help her realize, like, these are your rights within as a parent, and you need to have rights for your kids, legal rights, and he should have to pay for his kids. She did use an attorney that David had previously used when he had filed for divorce for his wife with his late wife, and then withdrew the divorce petition. He actually filed for divorce 2 or 3 times before she passed away. But she's using that same lawyer, so I do think maybe David had a hand in it, but it's obvious that this decision for her was not easy. It was not something she wanted to do, and something had to have pushed her to take this step. And then, mind you, during this process, they're filming still, and she's probably able to see some of what he's saying in these conversations with Robin, or how he's speaking about his kids. She can see the kind of behavior he has with Robin and her kids versus what he's doing with Truly. And she can get an idea of, is he stable? Is he going off the deep end? What is happening? She's also getting cued into what he's doing when it comes to Coyote Pass and how he's trying to delay things. And so at some point in time, she decides she needs to do this. And it's at the same time that Kody's also hiding assets, getting ready to sell his house, and she files the lawsuit. So obviously, this decision for her was not easy. So I commend her for taking that step. She, thus far, is the only one of the women that has actually taken any legal action against him. And I will say this, when you are in court with a narcissist, it is so painful. I have been involved in a lawsuit with a narcissist or at least who I believe is a narcissist, since April of 2022. The case has gone through so many delays. There has been so many, in my opinion, extra filings, simply to rack up and increase the costs of the lawsuit. There have been demands for private filings and confidential sealings. There's been motions to compel. There's been non-compliance with discovery. There's been retaliatory filings if I file because, say, they're not responding to discovery and they're not giving us what we need. And then they retaliate and say, no, you're not giving us what we need. And it just becomes this like game. Then they found ways to delay the proceedings through their attorney multiple times. And, it's almost 3 years into this case and we are still in it. Like, we just did a motion for a summary judgment a couple weeks ago, and then the judge has 90 days to respond. But in retaliation to us filing a motion for a summary judgment, they filed a motion for a summary judgment against me. Even though they're the one that brought the lawsuit, we complied with discovery. They didn't do any depositions outside of what we did, and they only just deposed me. So it's like, it's a nightmare to deal with narcissists in court. And then there's the same person is suing another group of people for the same reasons and giving different depictions of what the culprit is for his damages and why he's so damaged and how we've ruined his life, even though we haven't. And so it's painful to be in court for anything. And I used to settle cases, and I understand why people settle. I get it. But I also believe that if you don't go through the process, you're also setting a precedent that you can just bend and compromise, and that then anyone that sees that you're settling constantly, they're going to be like, oh, she'll just settle, so I'll just try to sue her. And so I think, with that said, watching what Christine is doing and knowing what I know, having gone through what I have the last 3 years, this is going to be painful for her. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be so expensive. And it's going to be way more expensive than it needs to be because of Kody and because he's a narcissist and it's his way to control. Narcissists love to abuse the court systems. They love it. And they love to do retaliatory responses. They love to cause delays. They love to file excess motions and make ridiculous demands and make you answer really ridiculous and embarrassing questions and try to get access to information that they shouldn't even be able to have. They like to abuse discovery. They like to delay proceedings. They like to make excuses. They like to put your character on trial, even though they're the ones that have the flawed character. And that's what she's walking into with this. And it's going to be painful. And Kody isn't making it easier because in December, They were given specific deadlines that they need to finish and meet in order for the case to move through the process to prepare for trial. One of those deadlines is that within 30 days of the notice of that hearing, which was December 18th, Christine and Kody had to complete their classes for parenting and child custody. So they had to go through the divorce orientation and the divorce education class. And 30 days in when it's written out this way in Utah means 30 days. It's not 30 business days, it's 30 calendar days. So Kody's deadline would have been January 17th because there was 31 days in December. And so, or January 18th, if we want to say date, December 18th is day 0. He's late. He didn't finish. He hasn't complied. So Christine finished her classes, and we talked about the ridiculousness of these classes. We're talking about something that she shouldn't have even had to go through because this is not a divorce, and he has no relationship with her. Truly, that is. She complied. She filed her petition and put the notice that she completed her classes on January 3rd. A requirement by the court was they had to file their completion and submit it to the court within 30 days. It is January 23rd, and Kody has not filed into the court that he's completed these courses. Only the petitioner in this case has. So Kody is already delaying the case. Now, he might try to argue that he's out of state and it was during the holidays, but that doesn't even fly because in Utah, all of these classes are available online, and they're like an hour tops for one of the classes and maybe like 2 hours for the other. So he gets to do this online. So he doesn't have to travel there at all. There's no excuse other than he's just too busy or he's putting it off. And when we look at how Kody is treating the situation with Coyote Pass and what he's been doing to Mary and Janelle and delaying and delaying and delaying because he doesn't want to pay, I predict that this will be one of many delays for Kody. And here's why this delay is significant. Now, he might do it tomorrow. And because now I'll point it out, Kody is the kind of guy that pays attention. I've noticed this to what commentary says about him, because there's been numerous times where he's had outstanding taxes due and he hasn't paid the taxes. And then within a week of that video going up or the article going out by whoever, suddenly the taxes are paid. So maybe this video will remind Kody that he's got required classes he needs to do and to not be a delayed narcissist and make this more painful for Christine. But the reason why this matters is that they can't move to trial until he finishes. It says, be sure you're taking the classes from a court-approved provider. You and the other parent must take the classes or get the requirement waived before you can get a final order. They cannot get a final order on custody. They cannot get a final order on paternity, on parenting time, on child support until he finishes these classes. This has to be done or they can't get a final order. Now, I'm not saying he's going to do this, but I'm saying he could do this and just be a dick and not do it. You know, something that I think is really telling is that his friend Kyle Henderson somehow made his divorce proceedings last 7 years because he delayed providing discovery and dividing assets. 7 years. And his ex-wife had to keep filing motions to compel to get him to move on and get him to do it. I see a lot of these in the future for Christine. He has been so classically narcissistic throughout this entire experience, even by countersuing her, even though he has no relationship with Truly. He knows he has no relationship with Truly. He's just doing it because Kody doesn't want to get rid of money. And at the end of the day, Kody will delay this as long as possible, so there is nothing on the books for him to have a court-ordered child custody and child support amount. He will delay it as long as possible so he doesn't have to pay because it's his money and his money alone, according to Kody Brown. So I'm going to be keeping track of everything on this case very to the day the deadlines are in, because I want to keep track to see if he's going to be who I think he is, which is a narcissistic litigant that's going to make this as painful and long as possible and as expensive as possible for Christine. Because in Kody's eyes, in my opinion, he's going to think, well, if I have to pay, I'm going to make it expensive for her. And if she's going to do this to me, I'm going to make it painful for her. because it's his way to control her still. And meanwhile, there's a child that's 14 years old that isn't getting the child support that they deserve, the time with their father that they deserve. Well, maybe she doesn't want it, but he's not meeting his requirements under the law. And he can delay it all he wants, but he can still be ordered to pay back several years from the time she filed the petition. So it's really just like delaying the inevitable. But to Kody, that's probably all he cares about, because he just signed on to a $1.6 million mortgage with a $12,000 a month payment. I'm sure the last thing he wants to do is add more child support to that. But, you know, Kody, you made a deal with the devil by doing this show. You stole and squandered and defrauded these women for years. It's about damn time they hold you accountable. And we're going to be watching all the way through. So what do you think about the delays, and what do you think about Christine's decision and how hard it must have been to make it, to sue him? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, everyone.